Welcome to the Grit Behind the Grind podcast, where we dive deep into raw, unfiltered journey of entrepreneurship, fitness, mental health, and building businesses from the ground up. I'm Eric Rowell, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, real estate developer, fitness enthusiast, dad, and husband.
And I'm Destiny Rowell, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, creative, brand strategist, and above all, mom and wife, bringing you real talk on what it takes to thrive as a business owner, especially when you're doing it alongside your partner. Here, we don't just focus on the wins. We dig deep into the struggles, the sacrifices, and the daily grind that it takes to make it all possible. So tune in, subscribe, and get ready to uncover the grit behind the grind.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Grit Behind the Grind podcast. Today, I am super excited to have my friend, one of my actual mentors in the franchising game, Erik Van Horn, not only the man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Eric? Thanks for being here, bro.
Eric, it's great to be here, man. I was excited to be able to come on and have some good conversation.
Yeah, I know. We already very similar. You know what I mean? We have like the most coolest name in the world. So we have that going for us. You know what I mean? But man, tell us a little bit about you. Like, who are you? Like, I know that, you are somebody that is kind of like the leaders in the franchise space. But for the people who do not know you, like, give them a little bit of backstory.
Today, I live on an 80-acre hobby ranch with my wife, and we got 3 daughters, 11, 12, and 14. Got all kinds of animals and fun stuff out here in the middle of nowhere in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And that's where I am today. Back up 20 years, quit law school, started a lawn business, and I actually quit law school before I started law school. I was registered, ready to go. And like, this is not going to be fun for me. Started a lawn business, got my hands dirty, working on a lawn for some lady. She said, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be when you grow up? I said, a real estate investor, because I was getting my real estate license at the time. And she said, we did that 20 years ago. And I said, tell me more. She said, we bought a condo down by the beach for tax purposes. And that was 20 years ago. We just want to get rid of it right now. Well, what do you mean? Tell me more. She said, we want to sell it. I said, how much do you want for it? I had no money, Eric, no money at the time. And she's like, nothing. We want somebody to take over our payments. I said, well, let me look at your mortgage statement. And it said assumable mortgage. She said, what we do want is somebody to pay the closing costs, because we don't want to pay money to sell our house, our condo down by the beach. And this was in Virginia Beach. And I said, well, I'll buy it from you, because she had an assumable mortgage. I knew I needed to come up with about $5,000, which I did not have at the time. And so I called up my parents and I said, hey, do you guys want to be business partners? And they said, sounds too good to be true. My future real estate broker at this time said, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it with Eric. I did it with my parents. We did it 50-50. I gave them back the half of the closing costs once I exited that first kind of business deal that I did. That's where I made my first $20,000. Today's world's about $50,000, because I used that to buy my first franchise. And I bought my first franchise and expanded that, continued to grow it. And over about a 10-year period, I was a franchisee and a master franchisee in one of the tax businesses. And I had about 42 locations under my region in Austin, Texas. Sold that. And then the next 10 years, I was able to use the money to buy a lot of different franchises as a franchisee, started a franchisor, became a consultant, a broker, an advisor, all kinds of different stuff within franchising. And then today, I have a business called Front Street Equity Partners, where we help franchisors and we get involved in the weeds with franchisors. And what's really cool about that, I get to live wherever I want to live, which is in South Dakota. And I get to help a lot of people, and I have a handful of brands that we are deep in the trenches with, and we get to know a lot of people like you, Eric, through masterminds and different things that we get to help. Oh, that's my story, man. I put it all into a nice little package nutshell for you.
Yeah, dude, I love it, because it sounds like, that's what most people do. Like, anybody who is hungry and that's out there kind of building things, it's kind of like, hey, I start something, I see a gap in the industry, or I see where there's something could be improved, and then I go start it or build it. And that's kind of, after getting to know you, like a little bit of, hey, I started first business deal, then I went into franchising, and then I have, where you are now, which is like the equity partners where you help other franchises. And I remember you telling me at one time during one of our calls is, hey, we had this kind of system and people would come to us and ask us like, hey, how do you take and scale the brands and then have the back office and the infrastructure? And you was kind of consulting and helping a lot of people. And I feel like that's most of us out here, right? We find gaps in industries and it's like, okay, well, this is missing. I think that I could really, fill this gap or this need. And us as entrepreneurs and business owners, that's really what we're doing. We're identifying pain points and then going and building it. So
that's exactly it. And that's how we came up with Front Street Equity Partners. There was 3 of us originally, me, Jeff, and Jim, and we came together. We had all kind of exited different businesses and had some time off and like, what do we want to do next? And we said, what are we really good at? What do we really enjoy doing? What don't we enjoy doing? And let's build a business model around that. So we built it, and we realized that we needed a 4th partner about a year into it because we needed to develop the franchise sales organization piece of it. Now, Jeff and I could have done that ourselves, like, because we've both done that. We're both really good at that, from doing it like in the trenches, franchise development, to leading teams with that. And we did not have the desire to do that. So we went out and we like put a list together, like who would we want? If we could have anybody, because we could have anybody in our minds, we could have anybody that we wanted, because who wouldn't want to join what we were creating? And there was one guy at the top of the list. And it's like, if we could have him, we'd be golden. And that was Bobby Brennan. Bobby is now an equal partner with us over at Front Street. And he leads the FSO, the Franchise Sales Organization division of Front Street. And so it's the 4 of us doing exactly what we want. And we, like you said, like, where are the gaps in the marketplace? Not only are we doing what we want and not doing the things that we don't want to do, but where are the gaps and what do we want to do differently? And we saw a lot of franchise organizations that start out and they have a really cool product, a lot of demand. They hire an FSO, or franchise sales organization, and they are hired to sell franchises. Like, that's what they're hired for. And if they do their job, and they will sell a bunch of franchises for that franchisor, that might be the best thing for the franchisor. And it might be the absolute worst thing for that franchise founder. And a lot of franchise founders just don't know what they're getting into when they grow like so fast. Like I said, some of them, that's exactly what they need. Most of them, they think they need that, but what they really need is controlled growth, the right franchisees, right franchise partners. And then that's where we saw the gap. Like, okay, how can we be positioned in the marketplace to solve this problem? And we said, we're going to be small, meaning we're not going to have very many employees. We're going to have very few employees. Us partners are going to do the things in the business that we want to and not hire out for it. And so we are going to get involved with these brands. And you can't do that at scale. You can't have 20 different brands, 30 different brands, and be active in their world, chopping wood with them. So that's what we decided we would do. We want to have meaningful impact on a smaller number of franchises so we can go to market with them. And that's exactly what we created. And it's been the most fun thing I've ever done in franchising. But I couldn't do it, Eric, without having all the experience in everything that I've done up to this point. So that's the thing that we solved when we created Front Street.
Yeah, I love that, because whenever I was thinking about starting a business, I've always been that type of person who I want to own 100% of the company. I don't want to have partners. You hear all these horror stories of mostly from people who've never done business before. It's like, never partner with anybody, right? And then when I started to really get educated about it and then started doing business, I'm learning like, okay, all of the really smart people in the world that run major companies, the Bezos, the Musk, all of them, none of them own 100% of the company. And then I start looking looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, why is that? Well, just like you said, it's like, hey, I'm not good. My superpower isn't everything, but I know what my superpower is. And then you go partner with these other people that have their own superpower, and then you go build something really awesome together. So I'm starting to learn that as well. I'm one of those people that you said, hey, you kind of go really hot out the gate and you don't realize what you don't understand and know, right? You don't have the experience. That's why it's important for partnering with people. I was like, all I got to do is sign up franchises. Money will come. It's this just bucket of money, but it's not like that. You have to have the back end, the support for these franchises, because franchise is a business model, right? Like I was telling somebody the other day, we actually went and spoke at Coffee Fest, and one of the classes was how to use franchising as a tool to scale. And somebody that I was speaking with, they said, hey, I opened up a franchise in my first like 6 months. And now I have all of these franchises, like 3 of them, because I thought that selling them is what I need to do. But I'm kind of having to go back and then build, and everybody, like, they're not even profitable locations. You know what I mean? Like, didn't have the foundation to start out with. And that's what I learned, which we don't have that problem, but I grew very organically and fast. And it's like, okay, well, I'm 3 steps forward, but I need to take 2 steps back, because now I need an operations person inside the franchise to help support these people. Because if my focus is not making them successful, then eventually that system is going to break. And then we're all going to collapse together.
Yeah, we say it all the time. Like once you become a franchisor, you're 100% right. Like people choose to franchise as a means to scale. It's like one of the ways that you can scale. You can also scale by just opening up more locations in a region and eventually go national and then compete with Starbucks. I mean, that's what they did. They scaled that way. Both are hard, but if you scale using franchising, you are a successful business owner and you're like, how do I continue to grow this business that I've built? So maybe you have 2 or 3 or 4 locations, but let's say you have 3 locations and you're making a lot of money. You're doing really well. You have to ask yourself, is that what you want your life to be? Like have a handful of locations and life is really good, really easy, making really good money, having a lot of free time because of how you built it. And now if you go into franchising, now all of a sudden the same skill set that took you to 3 successful locations will work for a bit while you start to grow a franchise organization. But that skill set has a lid and you have to learn new skill sets and have to understand how franchising works. And a lot of people are very entrepreneurial and not operational that are franchise founders, because that's who they are. And that's why they choose franchising. So I think a lot of founders that are very entrepreneurial, very vision oriented, they lack that skill set and desire to be deep into operations. They have to hire that person in operations. And it's a different skill set for that ops person to run a few coffee places or brick and mortar gyms or service vans or whatever it is that you're doing. The skill set to being a good operator in a small business is different than growing a franchise system, where now you are more of the coach. You're the one that wants to and is good at helping franchisees, mentoring franchisees, listening to franchisees. And by the way, franchisees are not always the best at giving credit to the franchisor, or they're not the best at just listening. And I say that because I was a franchisee. I'm still an investor in a franchise. I know that. I don't say that as a franchisor. I say that as a franchisee. We're not very good at that. And that's one of the things that franchisors have to be okay with. They're not going to get the credit for everything that goes amazing in the franchisee's business, but they will most likely get a lot of the negative things. If franchisees are not doing very well, the easiest thing for a franchisee to do, the easiest thing for me to do as a franchisee is to blame the franchisor. And so there's just, you have to be okay as a founder, an ops person with that dynamic. And it's just the dynamic. Eventually, Eric, there will be franchisees that work through all of what I just described from a relationship standpoint with the franchisor, and they really see that relationship as a win-win relationship, a really healthy relationship where they are working together with the franchisor to make everything better, everything bigger.
Yeah.
And everybody wins when that happens. but it takes time to get there.
Absolutely. I think that franchise is a business model, just like coffee shops, right? Like you're running coffee shops. But when you step into the franchise world, you got to look at it. It's a whole separate business model that you have to kind of grow out. And I believe that one of our superpowers, mine and Destiny's, is we look at the negative things. Anytime we're starting a new venture, we go and look at the negative things. What are the cons and how can we solve them? For the coffee industry, it was, we'll go down to our competitors. We'll look at their Google reviews. I can't stand this coffee shop because they don't have high chairs. Guess what I'm putting in my coffee shop? High chairs. Franchise systems, exact same things. Everybody talks about exactly what you're saying. It's, hey, nobody listens to the franchisees and the franchisors. There's a disconnect. The franchisees have ideas. The franchisors don't listen to them. It's kind of like this, you versus me in a sense. So I said, okay, you know what? I hear you. I understand that. Let me create a culture to where we're all collaborating together. And we have done that very well, right? So I think that's one of our superpowers and probably a hack in any business. It's you go figure out what your competitors, where they're dropping the ball. And then that's where you really hone in on.
100%. I see that with a lot of the brands that are portfolio brands at Front Street, and they've done that. One brand identified the name's Hello Sugar, and they started out as a sugaring brand, so sugar like hair removal. And then they started to do waxing because a certain segment of the customer wanted to do waxing. So they started to listen to the customer. And then they introduced laser hair removal as well. So not everybody does all three. They do all three. They were listening to their customers to see what the customer wanted. And they were still young enough and nimble enough to add that to the business model. I know another business model that was in the massage industry, and then they shifted to the wellness industry because there's a lot more. The customers were like, I want to be stretched. I want to have access to things that are making me healthier. Whether, whatever that is, maybe it's injections or, other things that you would get more at a med spa. So they transitioned that brand and changed the name of that brand to include basically wellness. And so it's listening to customers. And so many good things happen when franchisors listen to their customers and listen to their franchisees.
Right. Yeah. Everyone thinks that they have to be, well, most people, I got to be the smartest person. Like I got to know everything, you got to lean on other people and then kind of going back to, hey, what am I not good at? And bring those people in. Sometimes look, customers, they're the ones trying the product. They're the ones in there every single day. Why wouldn't I listen to the customers? You know what I mean? And some people, if you can just set your ego aside, I know, you built this, but like, let's collaborate with other people, get their feedback. And, I really think that it's leadership. I'm not sure about the wellness, but the Hello Sugar, I've met Reckham and the people that are leading these companies. I mean, that's exactly what I get from this dude. It's like, hey, I'm an out the box thinker and, I'm going to go and learn. I'm a long learner, great communicator. So, I think it does come down to who you have at the leadership realm, you know what I mean, when it comes to success, as it doesn't matter what kind of business it is.
I spent a good amount of time with John Maxwell. Like he's the leadership guy. He's written almost 100 books on leadership. And I've been able to spend a decent amount of small group time and one-on-one time with John. And the guy is always learning. He has systems set up to learn. And that's how he creates all this content, all these books, so many books that haven't even been written because he's always learning. And he's got people around him that help him with that, help him learn, take ideas and they work on them together. And one of the things that we look for in founders that we want to work with at Front Street to become portfolio brands are founders that are teachable. They don't know it all because we all don't know it all. And so that's one of the kind of the bigger things that we look for in founders, someone that is going to be open to feedback. And because we know we're not going to cram stuff down their throats and tell them to do a bunch of things, but a founder that can listen and having a culture of learning, which is also a culture of continuous improvement. If you're not learning, you're not improving. And so that trickles down to the franchisees. If you're a founder that it's your way or the highway, or you're not teachable, you're never learning, well, guess what? You're probably going to attract franchisees that are very similar. And you don't want franchisees that are not teachable, that are not coachable, that don't want want to listen, because as a franchisor, you are selling them a system of something that you've built and you're always going to improve. And good franchisees mostly should just want to execute the proven playbook and improve on it at times once they've learned how to just execute it flawlessly. And then they can start helping the franchisor improve on things that they can actually, have a significant impact on. But I'm a huge believer of being a learner myself. I think part of it, Eric, is I grew up in this small town in South Dakota. Once I graduated school, college, I moved. I was in Virginia Beach and I was in Austin, Texas. So I've been outside of this small town, but I'm a small town. I was a small town kid for so long. And I was always seemed to be, at least in my mind, underestimated. And so when I would go into these large groups, people would say, "Where are you from?" Instantly, if you say you're from Spearfish, South Dakota, it's not like people are ready to listen to what you have to say. So I just use that kind of as a way for me just to be like, okay, I'm just going to learn from so many people, quietly sit back and just learn and ask really good questions. And then all of a sudden, as I'm in a room, 2 years later, 3 years later, I'm one of the smartest people in that room. And that's when I know it's time to level up. I need to get into a different room, people making more money, having bigger businesses, making bigger moves. And that's when I knew it was time to level up. And I've done this multiple times, like many times over the years. And even with mentors, it's time to level up at different times from mentors to get somebody that is helping you at a new stage in your career. So yeah, I love to teach my girls this too. I was doing it this morning. My wife has been hired a personal trainer to help her. And she was this morning telling me all the things that she was learning and that she was doing wrong. And I stopped and I let her finish. I didn't stop her in the middle of that, but I let her finish. And then I said, "Girls, you hear what mom was just talking about? She's talking about things she's learning, and she's been working out for years, but she's learning new things. And I'm learning new things too, as I start to lift differently and exercise differently." And so I said, we Van Horns are teachable, coachable, and we love to learn. And so I use that as a teaching moment for them. So like the stuff that I'm talking about with this, like this is legit. I am a learner. I am teachable. I am coachable. And it's huge. And we want that in our founders.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's another lesson that I've kind of recently learned over the past few years is, hey, you can go faster if you put yourself in the right room. So I had no clue what masterminds were, what hiring a professional coach looked like. But over the past few years, it's what propelled me to have the success that I have. It's putting myself in these rooms and continuously saying, look, I'm not the smartest person. I don't know everything, but I am going to go find the people who are, and I'm going to make sure that I am around them constantly. And that's kind of, how me and you got linked up. We didn't even talk about that. But you have this whole, mastermind that is, pretty much you got the front street, but then you also have a secondary thing where you kind of help people like myself, that's on this journey that is trying to say, hey, I need to put myself around people who's done it. And that's kind of how we got linked up. So thank you.
That's it. I have one for franchisees and I have one for franchisors. And because so many people want my time, they want to pick your brain. They want a 30-minute call, a 60-minute call. And I don't do that with people. I have these masterminds for that. If you're a franchisee that wants to learn, grow, get some help, want to have a call, then I have a mastermind for that. It's $200 a month. It's super inexpensive for them. And then, and it's month to month. So I make this stuff really simple. And this is how I can focus on the things that are meaningful in my business. So if they want to join that, they can. And the same thing for franchisors. It's $500 a month for franchisors to join a mastermind. And here's the thing, like people that join, right or wrong, I feel an obligation to help them. If I get a text from you, I'm looking at that text and responding. And if you need an introduce to somebody, if you need a quick phone call out of the blue, whatever you need, I'm there to help. Or you're like, Eric, I'm really struggling in this area. Well, let's go get you some help in that area. I'll bring on a guest because I know somebody that's really good at that. And so that's how I think about a mastermind. And that's how, into the mind of somebody that runs different masterminds. So I run those lower ticket ones, lower price ones. And then I have one that's called the Tribe of Investors. And that one is like $30,000 a year, and it's more around investing. And I do that with my friend Justin Donald. Now, I've also paid to be a part of a lot of masterminds. Currently, I'm paying about $40,000 to be a part of one. I've paid up to $100,000 a year to be a part of one. And I also pay $333 a month to be a part of one. The best one in business right now is that $330 a month, $333 a month. It's super inexpensive. It's one meeting a month, and then we meet 4 times a year. You have to be invited to be a part of it. They are not allowing any more people in it. There's like 30 of us. The 2 people that founded that, they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it, one, for deal flow, because they want to have equity in different masterminds. So there's people in there that are like that. And it's a chance for them, the 2 founders, to get together to do cool stuff. And so it's absolutely not about the money, which, like, that's probably the most amazing mastermind that I've ever been a part of, because it's just kind of grassroots and amazing ballers that are well-known people that are doing really cool things. So just to kind of give a broad perspective of masterminds, you got $100,000 a year to $333 a month. That $333 a month is way more valuable than the other one at $100K.
Yeah, and I've been a part of multiple masterminds as well. And I think it also comes down to who's leading it, right? Me and Destiny, we recently started a mastermind in the coffee industry, because just like you're saying, what I did was, when I come into the coffee business and the mobile coffee business, there was a gap of information. So just givers, who we are as people, we wanted to pay it forward and create that resource space. So we created a free Facebook group, and it's like, hey, here's this free resource. This is what I wish I would have had. Here you go. I hope that it helps a lot of you. And it does well. But now, as we're scaling it and we have multiple businesses going on, I get people all the time. It's like, hey, can I have a minute of your time? Can you coach me in this area or mentor me right here? And it's like, man, I really wish I could help all of you, but I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. So that was, I took a page from your playbook, Eric. It's like, hey, okay, why don't I create this thing over here where we create a small, intimate group. We already go to Coffee Fest 4 times a year and keynote speak. We'll have our meetings around there. And then once a month, we'll get on a call, and like, I will help you move the needle in your business. It's been great. And it's just another one of those things, kind of going back to our personalities. It's like, when you find kind of a gap, it's like you're a problem solver at nature. And so you go and solve that problem. And that's what it's been for us, because you've probably heard this saying about CrossFit. And it's like, when someone starts doing CrossFit, they want to tell everybody about CrossFit. Why? Because it's changed their life. You know what I mean? Like, it's been such a positive impact. And that's what masterminds and having the right people in your network has done for me. And it's like, man, I just want to give that to other people.
The other thing CrossFitters do is they get injured and they tell everybody about CrossFit too and how bad it is. I'm teasing. Yeah. My friends that are deep into CrossFit, my sister had a CrossFit gym at one point. So I love it. I can't do it because I have too many, I've had too many surgeries in my life. But your point is well taken. Like your point is well taken. I had to say that though.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually pivoting. So have you heard of High Rocks?
No.
Okay. So High Rocks it's like between Spartan races and CrossFit. There's no barbell movements, no Olympic weightlifting. It's mostly running and then like erg machines. So I'm pivoting towards High Rocks, but I do want to tell you that I am like the undisputed Andalusia pickleball champion. And I know that you're into pickleball. So this is a direct challenge.
Well, we definitely need to play. We should go to some tournament together and either play with each other or against each other at a tournament, so we can really see who's the undisputed champion. I just got my new paddle in today, so it might be the best paddle ever, and I'm hoping it drastically improves my game.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go dominate this local tournament this weekend. It's actually my first tournament playing in. I am going to dominate though.
You have to let me know how you do, man. I want to hear. The High Rocks looks cool, but I don't like running. Just not. I'm not a runner. But I think I have some friends that do that. It looks fun. I like that. I love mountain biking, so I'd much rather be on a mountain bike And with my friends on their e-bikes, e-mountain bikes, I'll be on my regular mountain bike and exploring some single track. That's what I like to do for some good cardio.
That's funny because Destiny just got her an e-bike, and just yesterday afternoon, I'm riding around my mountain bike, and she's just pedaling her e-bike. She's like, "Come on, hurry up," So I like to do anything that I can compete in, hopscotch, whatever it is, dude. Like we're trying to compete.
Dude, I've never heard of a hopscotch competition, but that might be the next big thing.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll do that simultaneously with our pickleball, tournament. Cool. No, that's awesome, man. I think that, energy attracts energy in this world. And that's why me and you are sitting here on this podcast. Why are we doing this? I mean, like, we've had conversations, we know all of this, but it's really because we both have hearts for helping the next person, right? And paying it forward. And that's another attribute to winning. I think whenever you have that type of giver's heart, that's why our core values are what they are. It's love others, spread light, work hard. And, when you actually live that out and it's not just a catchphrase on your social media handle, I mean, other people are attracted to that. And then after you build up this community, I mean, the dollars, they come by just being in the right rooms and living out like that. But I feel like the purpose is really where the joy is, the purpose of giving back, to helping others, you know what I mean? Getting up, like, we can go do 100 million things that make us money, but are you doing the things that you actually enjoy and that you find purpose from? And I think helping others is part of that.
Yeah, I was consulting, and consulting meaning I was helping franchise buyers, I was helping franchisors. Some of it was a commission-based thing based on performance. Some of it was just an hourly rate of about $1,500 an hour. What I didn't like about that is everything was transactional. Like, you and I could not have a conversation without me thinking, I probably should be charging money for this. And then if I wasn't charging money for it, then I'm like, well, I kind of feel bad because I'm charging this person money, but I'm also having this other conversation trying to help this person out. So that's where I was super excited to be with Front Street Equity, because now I can do all these things, have these conversations for free, because we are looking at working with franchise brands. And so if I'm looking at working with a franchise brand of them becoming a portfolio brand, I can't charge them $1,000 an hour, $500. I can't even charge them $1 an hour to have conversations with me. So I get to have these free conversations with people that are thinking about franchising, or they're already franchising and they're understanding how hard it is, and we get to help them. Like, one of the ways that you sell is you demonstrate value. So we're always giving value, even if we know it's a brand that we don't want to work with, we'll never work with, or they're just not at the right stage. Like, we're always giving value and helping. But it's great because it's part of our business model is just to help a bunch of people. We're actually going to be rolling out more stuff to do, like, low ticket, very inexpensive ways to help franchisors. Because the problem is, Eric, like, in franchising, there's problems in any industry, but one of the problems in franchising is there are people out there that will tell you have the most amazing coffee brand, you should be franchising. I can help franchise it for you. Give me $30,000, $50,000, $100,000, and poof, you're a franchise. And then they walk away and you're left with trying to build a franchise. Now you have this franchise disclosure document and you are an official franchise, which also means you have a ton of responsibility if you sell a franchise to somebody. Going back to the conversation that we had earlier, you said, I was talking to this franchise, whether it was franchisee or franchisor, I can't remember, but it sounds like they're not making money. I've seen franchise organizations that are losing money. They're not making money in their corporate locations, or very little money, and they're a franchise. I'm like, who told them it was a good idea to become a franchise, to be a franchisor, if you're not making money in your current business? And not only should a franchisor not franchise, they should not franchise until they're making really good money and they understand their business model and they're experts at that business model. They should not even think about franchising until then. So I see way too many people that are franchising their business that have no business actually franchising it. And man, we tell a lot of those people, don't sell a location because you're not ready. And some of them listen to us and some of them don't. But talk about giving free value. Some of that free value is like, don't sell a franchise. And actually, one of our brands, Mel, the founder over at GoGlow, it's a sunless spray tan brand. We told her the best thing that happened to your business is you didn't sell a single franchise. And don't sell anything until like we get everything kind of figured out for you. And then you can go to market and you'll have a product that is amazing. But she was doing extremely well as a solo business owner before she turned it into a franchise. And so that's one that is just, there's so many amazing things about it, but she just didn't know what she was getting into when she became a franchisor. And that's where people like us come along and help. So that's why it's good to be in the right rooms with the right people, asking the right questions and being teachable so you don't make expensive mistakes. And so it's important who you listen to, because if they're getting paid for the thing that they're helping with, you should probably be getting multiple opinions on that, because too many people, man, they turn their business into a franchise when they never should.
Absolutely. I see that so often, and it's crazy. Like you said, how many people don't really understand that or have not been educated. And I think it does go back to when somebody else all they're doing is trying to make a quick buck off of somebody else. And that's what you get. Those are the results. People come and we're, really, I guess, we give a lot of advice in the coffee industry. There's so many coffee brands coming up and popping up, and they come to us and they're like, hey, we see what you've done with Grit and Grind, and that's what we want to do. And they're like, how do I franchise? And whenever I hear that word franchise and somebody's really trying to kind of ask information on how to get started, I like to tell them all the scary things at first. Look, three main components that nobody really understands is like, you got to build the brand, then you got to have the systems. And then once you have all those things, is it teachable? So like, okay, yeah, you got the brand. Most of the people that are having these conversations with us, they started a coffee company. They have one. It's, successful or not successful, but they don't understand the other pieces. Like, do you have all the SOPs in place? Do you have a system? Okay, great. Have you vetted that system to make sure that someone else can understand this information? Is it coachable? Do you have a team to coach it? And then the biggest one that I see is they do not have an accurate profit and loss. Like, they don't even understand how much they have in a drink of coffee. And I'm like, if I had to tell you one place to start, that is know your numbers above all else, because you can bring on, like, you're talking about Front Street and all the things that Front Street does to help franchise brands. And you can do all of those things. Like, you can have an organization to come in and help you with a lot of the components of your business. But if you don't have a profitable business, how do you get those people? How do you pay for them? Like, those services.
I think it's a great point, knowing your numbers. And I think that's one of the things that franchisors are not amazing at, is helping franchisees know their numbers, whether it's from KPIs to financials. And a lot of franchisors are not great with their numbers and knowing their numbers and making decisions based off of a P&L and a cash flow statement and just understanding all of that. You've got to make decisions based, you've got to have your financial statements to understand the health of your business and where you should be making the right decisions. Even as a franchisee, I'm an investor in a smaller portfolio of franchise locations, just a pure investor, but I want financials, and I want to, as we get on a call once a week, once a month, we're looking at the financials. We are looking at the KPIs. I'm not just, listening to somebody give me an update based off of emotional this, or people are really happy here, but like, let's look at the KPIs and the numbers. And the other day, I'm like, I'm not seeing enough about retention. What is our retention? And because that, you need to have strong customer retention, especially if it's in a membership type model, it's critical. And if it was above 10%, then we have some things to work on. If it's 5% or 6%, then we're doing very well. But and they knew their numbers. They knew the numbers, but I want to see them, and I want to see how they're going up and down, and there are any trends. So as a franchisee, you've got to know your numbers. As a franchisor, you've got to know your numbers. And I think one of the things that, we're kind of talking about, like back in early in the pod, what are we doing different? What are we solving for? And I was talking about how FSOs, their main job is to sell a bunch of franchises and they're gone. Our model is, sell the right amount of franchises until you're ready to sell a bunch of franchises. And then we're sticking around to help grow. And it's alignment. And that's one of the words that we used at Front Street, is like, we want to be fully aligned with our brands, not just to sell, but to grow enterprise value. To grow a franchise that's sellable is, doesn't mean you have to sell it, but you build it to be sellable. And that's what every franchisee should be thinking too. How do I build a business that's sellable? And then if you have a business that's sellable, it's a really good business to have, because you don't have to sell it. But if you do sell it, then you can. But also, as you're building to be sellable, if you are understanding the financials, I think more franchisors and franchisees probably need to level up in the people that are helping them with their financials. Meaning, do they have the right advisors around them? Do they have the right CPAs? Is their CPA with them since they had a smaller W-2 job? Or maybe that CPA doesn't have any experience in larger business owners, or business owners that are making, $300,000, $500,000 a year, $1 million, $2 million plus in net profit a year. And is that CPA, have they outgrown that CPA? We're talking about earlier, outgrowing mentors, outgrowing advisors, outgrowing the team that's around you. So I think one of the things that we like to look at is the team that's around that founder leveled up enough to continue to grow with that founder, or do they need somebody different? And I would say most people, entrepreneurs in general, have a weak financial team around them because they just don't know. And it's hard to change. We deal with this in the Tribe of Investor Mastermind all the time. There are people that are making significant amounts of money, and some people that are getting ready to make a lot of money. Their CPA is costing them so much money. And that's kind of you talk about masterminds. Masterminds, you want to give people that are joining easy wins. An easy win within the Tribe of Investor is, let's save you a lot of money by putting you in touch with the right people that can save you a lot of money, and keep that in your pocket as you're growing your wealth. So my advice for franchisees and franchisors out there, do an inventory, and I would at least see if you have the right advisors around your franchise: CPA, bookkeeper, financial person, insurance people, and the list goes on and on. But that's a very weak spot I see in a lot of franchise systems.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we all have to continue to take audits and level up. It's like my insurance. I get quotes on insurance every single year, right? And it's the same thing with my CPAs and the people that are around me. Like, some people, they can get you to a certain level, but then like you need new people to get at different levels. So I love that, man.
One question to ask your CPA, if they start to talk about, like, your CPA should not be afraid of an audit.
Yeah.
And maybe just ask the CPA, like, how do you handle audits? What do you do? And how many audits have you had recently? It's okay to be audited. Like, I've gone through an audit, and I was glad my CPA is like, hey, here's power of attorney. Engage with the auditor. I will engage with the auditor for you. And if we need to bring you in, we'll bring you in. But most of the time we don't bring you in. I talk to you, I talk to the auditor, and then we defend the audit. And it's going to take a while. It's going to cost a decent amount of money, but let's go. We can defend what we've done. And so you want a CPA that's ready to defend. That's not like freaking out if auditors come. And you want a CPA that says exactly that. I will handle that. You hand over the power of attorney, and let's go to battle, and let's defend. And that's what you want in a CPA. You don't want somebody that's afraid of an audit. And I hear this consistently. So I just want to give a little tidbit there, because if your CPA is afraid of audits, because a lot of CPAs they are preparing your taxes to not have to defend an audit. And you want somebody that is not breaking the law, obviously. That's not in a bad area, but is being aggressive with things that they know that they can defend because they've defended it before.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think this was amazing. All this information. There's so many people out there that's looking for, like I said, starting a brand. And then also, how do I use franchising? What are some of the pros and cons about franchising? So definitely appreciate all of your expertise, all of your time, dude. Like I said, I think this is going to be a really cool episode. And I love just hanging out with you. You know what I mean? We've had this opportunity. So cool. Thank you for being on here. If people want to follow you, where can they go? Which social media platforms is the ones that Eric is putting all the information out?
I try to put it out on all of them, but probably most active on Facebook because I have a large Facebook group. Just go to franchisesecretsgroup.com, franchisesecretsgroup.com, and that will put you into a really good Facebook group for people that are wanting to buy a franchise, sell a franchise, franchisor, franchisee, you name it. It's a really helpful group. And there's no pitching in there. I don't allow that. People get kicked out if they do that. So healthy group. Find me on Facebook. It's Eric with a K, Erik Van Horn. I got some good newsletters. You can also go to scalablefranchise.com. Find some different things out about me. My podcast is called Franchise Secrets. But Eric, this has been fun, man. Thanks for having me on. I love that one of the things that, the Front Street Partners talked about you is that you are a leader in your industry. You have a following, you have a personal brand. And so all of that, like, I would encourage other people, like, follow you, see how you're building what you're building, and especially building that personal brand. It's huge. As a franchisee, franchisor, more people should be doing it. I love how you're open and transparent, and you're a giver, and you're teachable, and how you are helping so many people. So I appreciate you.
Cool, dude. Yeah, thank you for your time, bro. All right, everybody, no grit, no pearl. Deuces.